I'm Natasha, and today I have something very exciting prepared for you. If you've been trying to take your English to the next level, today's lesson is going to be like a treasure chest of advanced vocabulary. Vocabulary you can actually use every single day. We're not just talking about memorizing long, complicated words that you'll never say in real life. We're going to focus on 175 advanced words, words that are practical, useful, and powerful enough to make you sound fluent, confident, and clear whenever you speak. By the end of this session, you'll know exactly how to use them naturally in conversation, in writing, and in all the situations where you want your English to shine. Now, before we begin, I want you to relax and imagine this as if we're having a friendly conversation. I'll give you each word, explain what it means, share examples you can copy, and then guide you through some short practice exercises so you can immediately start using them. This is not about rushing through a list. This is about making each word part of your active vocabulary, so you don't just recognize it when you hear it, you actually use it when you speak. For example, let's say our first word is meticulous. It means showing great attention to detail. You could say, "She is meticulous when planning her trips." Or, "He checked the report in a meticulous way before sending it." Now, let's practice together. I'll say the sentence slowly, and I want you to repeat after me. I am meticulous when I prepare for a meeting. Good. Now say it again, but change the subject to we. We are meticulous when we prepare for a meeting. By doing this, you're training your mouth and your brain to produce the word naturally. We'll do this same process for all the words. I'll share a short explanation, then real-life examples, and then you'll have a small practice session to help you internalize it. Sometimes, I'll give you more than one example, because different contexts can help your brain store the word more deeply. If the word is something you might hear in both casual and professional situations, I'll give you examples for both. Throughout this lesson, I'll also connect these words to everyday situations so they feel relevant to you. If a word can be used in a story about your job, your studies, or even what you did over the weekend, we'll explore that. The goal here is not to just know the word, it's to own it, to be comfortable enough that it flows out naturally, whether you're speaking to a friend, a teacher, or even in a meeting. So, as we go along, I'll occasionally pause and say, "Now it's your turn." When I do that, I want you to actually speak the sentences out loud. Don't just listen in your head, because fluency is built with your voice, not only with your mind. This practice will make the words stick much faster than passive learning. All right, let's dive in together. Imagine this as a long, flowing conversation where each word is a new tool in your English vocabulary toolbox. By the time we're done, you'll not only know these 175 advanced words, you'll be able to use them with ease in your everyday life. Our first word is meticulous. As I mentioned earlier, this means paying great attention to small details and being very careful in your work or actions. For example, you could say, "He is meticulous in organizing his files." Or, "The chef is meticulous about the freshness of ingredients." Now, let's practice together. Repeat after me, slowly. I am meticulous when I prepare for a presentation. Good. Now try changing it. We are meticulous when we clean our workspace. This small change helps you remember that you can adapt the word to different situations. Try one more. She is meticulous in her daily routine, making sure every task is done perfectly. Our next word is eloquent. This describes someone who speaks or writes in a very clear, persuasive, and effective way. For example, the speaker gave an eloquent speech that moved the audience to tears, or her writing style is so eloquent that it captures the reader's attention instantly. Let's practice. I want to be eloquent when I talk about my ideas. Now change it to, he is eloquent when explaining complex topics. One more. They were eloquent in defending their point of view during the discussion. The third word is pragmatic. This means dealing with things in a practical and realistic way, instead of only focusing on theories or ideas. For example, we need a pragmatic approach to solve this problem. Or, she is very pragmatic about her career choices, always thinking about what will actually work in real life. Practice with me. I take a pragmatic view when making decisions. Now you. He is pragmatic when planning new projects. And one more. They suggested a pragmatic solution that worked immediately. Our fourth word is versatile. This describes someone or something that is able to adapt to many different situations or perform many different functions. For example, she is a versatile musician who can play 5 instruments. Or, this jacket is versatile. You can wear it in both casual and formal settings. Practice time. I am a versatile person who can work in different roles. Now you. He is versatile and can fix almost anything in the house. And another. They bought a versatile piece of furniture that works in any room. The next word is astute. This means having the ability to notice and understand things quickly, often to your advantage. For example, he is an astute businessman who always spots opportunities. Or, she made an astute observation during the meeting. Let's practice. I try to be astute when listening to people. Your turn. She is astute in understanding people's needs. And another. They made an astute decision to invest early. Now we have tenacious. This means being very determined and not giving up easily. For example, she is a tenacious learner who studies every day. Or, he showed tenacious effort in finishing the marathon despite the rain. Practice. I am tenacious when I work toward my goals. Now, he is tenacious in defending his beliefs. And one more. They remained tenacious in their fight for justice. Our next word is conscientious. This means being careful, thorough, and doing your work with a lot of attention and responsibility. For example, she is a conscientious employee who always meets deadlines. Or, he is conscientious about recycling and helping the environment. Let's practice. I am conscientious in my daily work. Now you. He is conscientious when completing assignments. And another. They are conscientious about their health and fitness. Moving on to innovative. This means introducing new ideas, methods, or products. For example, she came up with an innovative way to save time in the kitchen, or the company is known for its innovative designs. Practic the time. I want to be innovative in my work. Now, he is innovative when creating new strategies. And another, they launched an innovative solution that changed the market. The next word is articulate. This describes someone who can express themselves clearly and effectively. For example, he is articulate and can explain complex ideas simply, or she gave an articulate response to the question. Practice. I try to be articulate when speaking in public. Now, she is articulate in presenting her ideas to the team. One more. They are articulate in their communication with customers. Finally, for this section, we have resilient. This means being able to recover quickly from difficulties or challenges. For example, she is resilient after facing many setbacks, or he remained resilient during tough times at work. Practice. I am resilient when dealing with problems. Now you. She is resilient in the face of failure. And another. They are resilient after experiencing a major change in their lives. Our next word is perceptive. This means having a deep understanding of things or noticing details that others might miss. For example, she is perceptive and always understands how people are feeling. Or, he made a perceptive comment that revealed the real problem. Practice with me. I am perceptive when reading people's emotions. Now try. He is perceptive about changes in the market. And another. They are perceptive enough to see patterns others don't notice. The next word is altruistic. This means showing a selfless concern for the well-being of others. For example, her altruistic nature makes her help strangers without expecting anything in return. Or, he made an altruistic decision to donate most of his earnings to charity. Practice. I want to be altruistic in my actions. Now, she is altruistic and always ready to help. And another. They took an altruistic approach to solving community problems. Then we have candid. This means being honest and straightforward, even if it's uncomfortable. For example, she gave a candid opinion about the project, or he was candid about the mistakes he made. Practice time. I try to be candid when giving feedback. Now you. He is candid when talking about his experiences. And one more. They had a candid discussion about the challenges ahead. Our next word is scrupulous. This means being very careful about doing what is right or correct and paying attention to details. For example, she is scrupulous in checking her work before submission, or he is scrupulous in following the rules. Practice. I am scrupulous when handling important tasks. Now, she is scrupulous about keeping promises. And another. They are scrupulous in recording data accurately. Moving on to emphatic. This means expressing something in a clear, strong, and forceful way. For example, she gave an emphatic no to the idea. Or, he was emphatic about the importance of safety. Practice. I am emphatic when I speak about my values. Now, he is emphatic in expressing his opinion. And another. They were emphatic about their decision to move forward. Our next word is diligent. This means showing constant effort and hard work toward achieving something. For example, she is diligent in her studies. Or, he worked diligently to finish the project before the deadline. Practice. I am diligent in my daily learning. Now, she is diligent in her preparation for the exam. And another. They are diligent in building strong customer relationships. The next word is formidable. This means something or someone that inspires fear or respect due to being powerful, impressive, or difficult. For example, she faced a formidable challenge but overcame it. Or, he is a formidable opponent in debates. Practice. I am ready to face formidable tasks at work. Now, he is a formidable leader who inspires his team. And another. They overcame formidable obstacles to achieve success. Then we have lucid. This means being expressed clearly and easy to understand, or having a clear mind. For example, her explanation was so lucid that even beginners understood. Or, he gave a lucid account of the incident. Practice. I try to be lucid when explaining difficult topics. Now, she is lucid in her storytelling. And another. They made a lucid argument in the meeting. Our next word is magnanimous. This means being generous and forgiving, especially towards someone less powerful or after a disagreement. For example, she was magnanimous in forgiving her rival. Or, he is magnanimous in sharing credit with the whole team. Practice. I want to be magnanimous when others make mistakes. Now, she is magnanimous in her victories. And another. They were magnanimous after winning the competition. Finally, for this section, we have astounding. This means something that is surprisingly impressive or amazing. For example, the view from the mountain was astounding. Or, she made an astounding recovery after the injury. Practice. I saw an astounding performance at the concert. Now, he has an astounding ability to solve problems. And another. They delivered an astounding result in such a short time. Our next word is proficient. This means being skilled and competent in doing something. For example, she is proficient in using graphic design software. Or, he is proficient at playing the guitar. Practice with me. I am proficient in English conversation. Now, he is proficient at cooking Italian dishes. And another. They are proficient in solving technical problems quickly. The next word is serendipitous. This describes something happening by chance in a happy or beneficial way. For example, it was serendipitous that we met at the cafe. Or, she found a serendipitous opportunity to work abroad. Practice. I had a serendipitous encounter with an old friend. Now, he had a serendipitous discovery while researching online. And another. They enjoyed a serendipitous trip that wasn't planned. Then we have unwavering. This means being steady, firm, and not changing in your commitment or belief. For example, she has unwavering confidence in her abilities, or he showed unwavering support for his team. Practice. I have unwavering faith in my goals. Now, she has unwavering dedication to her studies. And another, they showed unwavering courage during the crisis. Our next word is indispensable. This means absolutely necessary and impossible to do without. For example, a good night's sleep is indispensable for good health. Or, she is an indispensable member of the team. Practice. I am indispensable in my role at work. Now, he is indispensable for this project's success. And another, they brought indispensable skills to the event. Moving on to plausible. This means something that seems reasonable or likely to be true. For example, her explanation sounds plausible, or he came up with a plausible plan for the trip. Practice. I think that's a plausible solution. Now, she gave a plausible excuse for being late. And another, they made a plausible argument that convinced everyone. Our next word is steadfast. This means being loyal, firm, and committed to something. For example, she remained steadfast in her beliefs, or he is steadfast in supporting his friends. Practice. I am steadfast in my decision to keep learning. Now, she is steadfast in her principles. And another, they are steadfast in their mission to help others. The next word is ephemeral. This means lasting for a very short time. For example, the sunset's beauty is ephemeral, or fame can be ephemeral if not maintained. Practice. Happiness from material things is often ephemeral. Now, she captured an ephemeral moment with her camera, and another. They enjoyed the ephemeral beauty of spring flow. Words. Then we have exuberant. This describes someone who is full of energy, excitement, and enthusiasm. For example, she was exuberant when she heard the news, or his exuberant personality makes people happy. Practice. I feel exuberant when I achieve my goals. Now, she is exuberant about starting her new job, and another, they were exuberant at the celebration party. Our next word is methodical. This means working in a careful, organized, and systematic way. For example, she takes a methodical approach to solving problems. Or, he is methodical in his research. Practice. I am methodical when planning my day. Now, she is methodical in her work, leaving no detail unchecked. And another. They are methodical in recording all transactions. Finally, for this section, we have coherent. This means something that is logical and makes sense as a whole. For example, her argument was coherent and easy to follow. Or, he wrote a coherent essay on the topic. Practice. I try to be coherent when explaining my ideas. Now, she is coherent when speaking under pressure. And another, they made a coherent plan for the project. Our next word is catalyst. This means something or someone that causes a change or event to happen, often quickly. For example, the new policy acted as a catalyst for innovation, or her speech was the catalyst for a community movement. Practice with me. I want to be the catalyst for positive change in my team. Now, he was the catalyst for improving the company's culture. And another, they served as a catalyst for bringing people together. The next word is concur. This means to agree with someone or something. For example, I concur with your opinion on this matter. Or, she concurred that the project needed more time. Practice. I concur with the suggestion to start earlier. Now, he concurs with my idea for the new design. And another, they concurred with the final decision after discussion. Then we have discerning. They. S means having or showing good judgment, especially about style, quality, or choices. For example, she is a discerning customer who always chooses the best products. Or, he has a discerning taste in music. Practice. I am discerning when it comes to choosing my friends. Now, she is discerning about which books she reads. Another, they are discerning investors who make careful decisions. Our next word is succinct. This means expressed clearly and briefly without unnecessary words. For example, his explanation was succinct and easy to understand. Or, she gave a succinct answer to the question. Practice. I try to be succinct when giving instructions. Now, she is succinct in her writing style. And another, they presented their ideas in a succinct manner during the meeting. Moving on to ambiguous. This means having more than one possible meaning or being unclear. For example, her answer was ambiguous, so I wasn't sure what she meant. Or, the instructions were too ambiguous to follow. Practice. I try not to be ambiguous when explaining things. Now, his statement was ambiguous and caused confusion. And another, they gave an ambiguous reply that left everyone guessing. Our next word is adversity. This means a difficult or unpleasant situation. For example, she showed great strength in the face of adversity. Or, he overcame adversity to achieve his dreams. Practice. I remain calm during times of adversity. Now, she handled adversity with courage. And another, they learned valuable lessons through adversity. The next word is audacious. This means showing a willingness to take bold risks or being daring. For example, it was an audacious plan, but it worked. Or, she made an audacious move by starting her own company at a young age. Practice. I admire people who are audacious in chasing their goals. Now, he made an audacious decision to change careers completely. And another, they launched an audacious marketing campaign that surprised everyone. Then we have credibility. This means the quality of being trusted and believed in. For example, her consistent performance gives her credibility. Or, he lost credibility after the mistake. Practice. I build credibility by keeping my promises. Now, she has credibility in her field of expertise. And another, They worked hard to gain credibility with their clients. Our next word is integral. This means being essential or necessary for something to work. For example, trust is an integral part of any relationship. Or, she plays an integral role in the company's success. Practice. I am an integral part of my team's projects. Now, he is integral to the school's music program. And another, they are integral to the community's development plans. Finally, for this section, we have precocious. This describes a child who shows abilities or qualities at a much earlier age than usual. For example, she is a precocious child who reads advanced books. Or, he showed precocious talent in playing the piano. Practice. The precocious student amazed everyone with his speech. Now, she is precocious in solving complex math problems. And another, they noticed their precocious daughter had a gift for storytelling. Our next word is affluent. This means having a lot of money, wealth, or a high standard of living. For example, he grew up in an affluent neighborhood, or they are an affluent family with many investments. Practice with me. I don't need to be affluent to be happy, but I want financial stability. Now, she lives in an affluent part of the city. And another, they work with affluent clients from around the world. The next word is benevolent. This means being kind, generous, and well-meaning. For example, she is a benevolent leader who cares for her team. Or, he made a benevolent gesture by donating to the local shelter. Practice. I want to be a benevolent person and who helps others. Now, she is known for her benevolent nature. And another, they made a benevolent decision to help struggling students. Then, we have copious. This means large in quantity or number. For example, she took copious notes during the lecture. Or, he drank copious amounts of water after the run. Practice. I take copious notes when learning English. Now, she made copious copies of the document for the meeting. And another, they received copious feedback on their work. Our next word is detrimental. This means causing harm or damage. For example, smoking is detrimental to your health. Or, not getting enough sleep is detrimental to productivity. Practice. I avoid habits that are detrimental to my progress. Now, she explained why fast food can be detrimental to long-term health. And another, they removed the policy because it was detrimental to growth. Moving on to exemplary. This means serving as a perfect example of something. For example, her work ethic is exemplary. Or, he showed exemplary leadership during the crisis. Practice. I want to have an exemplary attitude at work. Now, she is an exemplary student who inspires others. And another, they achieved exemplary results through teamwork. The next word is fortuitous. This means happening by chance, often in a lucky or beneficial way. For example, it was fortuitous that we met at the airport, or she had a fortuitous opportunity to work with an expert in her field. Practice. I had a fortuitous meeting that led to a great job offer. Now, he had a fortuitous win in the raffle. And another. They enjoyed a fortuitous turn of events on their trip. The next word is gregarious. This describes someone who enjoys being with other people and is sociable. For example, she is gregarious and loves meeting new friends. Or, he became more gregarious after joining the club. Practice. I am gregarious when I feel comfortable with people. Now, she is gregarious and attends every social event. And another. They are gregarious hosts who make everyone feel welcome. Then we have incessant. This means continuing without stopping, often in an annoying way. For example, the incessant noise from the construction made it hard to focus. Or, she faced incessant challenges but stayed determined. Practice. I can handle the incessant rain if I have good company indoors. Now, he complained about the incessant traffic in the city. And another. They endured the incessant ringing of the phone at work. Our next word is judicious. This means having or showing good judgment. For example, she made a judicious decision to save her money. Or, he is judicious in choosing business partners. Practice. I try to be judicious with my time. Now, she is judicious in her spending. And another. They were judicious when hiring new employees. Finally, for this section, we have kinetic. This means relating to motion or movement. For example, kinetic energy is the energy of movement. Or, her performance on stage was full of kinetic energy. Practice. I love the kinetic excitement of a busy city. Now, he explained the concept of kinetic energy in science class. And another. They enjoyed the kinetic feel of the roller coaster ride. Our next word is lucrative. This means producing a lot of profit or being financially rewarding. For example, she found a lucrative opportunity in the tech industry. Or, he has a lucrative side business that he runs online. Practice with me. I want to build a lucrative career that I enjoy. Now, she discovered a lucrative market for her products. And another. They started a lucrative partnership that benefits both sides. The next word is magnate. This describes a wealthy and influential person in business. For example, he is a real estate magnate with properties worldwide. Or, she became a fashion magnate after launching her brand. Practice. I read a book about a tech magnate who changed the industry. Now, she aspires to be a publishing magnate one day. And another. They interviewed a hotel magnate for the magazine. Then we have nuance. This means a small or subtle difference in meaning, expression, or sound. For example, he understands the nuances of different cultures. Or, she noticed a nuance in his tone that suggested he was upset. Practice. I try to notice the nuance in people's facial expressions. Now, she explained the nuance between similar English words. And another. They appreciated the nuance in the film's dialogue. Our next word is omnipresent. This means being present, everywhere, at the same time. For example, Technology feels omnipresent in our daily lives. Or, her influence in the company is omnipresent. Practice. Social media seems omnipresent in modern society. Now, he felt the omnipresent support of his family during tough times. And another, they discussed the omnipresent role of advertising in business. Moving on to paradigm, this means a model, pattern, or example of something, often representing a way of thinking. For example, the new app created a paradigm shift in online shopping, or he challenged the old paradigm of education. Practice. I believe we need a new paradigm for learning languages. Now, she studied different paradigms in psychology. And another, they embraced a new paradigm in their company strategy. The next word is quintessential. This means representing the most perfect or typical example of something. For example, he is the quintessential gentleman, or this cafe is the quintessential spot for book lovers. Practice. Paris is the quintessential city for romance. Now, she is the quintessential leader, kind, decisive, and inspiring. And another, they found the quintessential beach for relaxation. The next word is ravenous. This means extremely hungry, or having a strong desire for something. For example, after the hike, they were ravenous. Or, she had a ravenous appetite for learning. Practice. I feel ravenous after a long workout. Now, he is ravenous for new experiences. And another, they became ravenous after smelling the fresh bread. Then we have scrutiny. This means careful and critical examination. For example, the report will be under close scrutiny, or she faced public scrutiny after the decision. Practice. My work is often under scrutiny, so I check it twice. Now, he welcomed scrutiny because he was confident in his results. And another, they avoided scrutiny by being transparent. Our next word is tangible. This means something real and able to be touched or measured, or something definite and clear. For example, we need tangible results to move forward, or the excitement in the room was almost tangible. Practice. I set tangible goals for my progress in English. Now, she saw tangible improvement in her health. And another, they delivered tangible benefits to the community. Finally, for this section, we have ubiquitous. This means present or existing everywhere. For example, smartphones are ubiquitous in modern life. Or, her brand's logo is ubiquitous across the city. Practice. Fast food restaurants are ubiquitous in large cities. Now, he noticed the ubiquitous presence of cameras in public spaces. And another, they discussed how the internet has become ubiquitous in daily living. Our next word is vicarious. This means experiencing something indirectly through another person's actions or experiences. For example, she felt vicarious excitement when her friend won the award. Or, he enjoys traveling vicariously by watching documentaries. Practice with me. I felt vicarious joy when my brother got his dream job. Now, she lives vicariously through her children's adventures. And another, they experienced vicarious pride when their team won. The next word is warranted. This means something is justified or necessary. For example, her concern was warranted after seeing the results, or the teacher felt the punishment was warranted. Practice. I believe my decision to speak up was warranted. Now, his anger was warranted by the unfair treatment. And another, they agreed the changes were warranted given the circumstances. Then we have yearn. This means to have a strong desire or longing for something. For example, she yearned for a chance to travel the world, or he yearns to spend more time with his family. Practice. I yearn for peaceful mornings with a cup of tea. Now, she yearns to improve her English fluency. And another, they yearn for a simpler way of life, away from the city. Our next word is zealous. This means showing great energy or enthusiasm for something you believe in. For example, she is zealous about animal rights. Or, he worked with zealous determination to finish the project. Practice. I am zealous when it comes to achieving my goals. Now, she is zealous in her support for the environment. And another, they are zealous about community service projects. Moving on to adulation. This means excessive admiration or praise. For example, the actor enjoyed the adulation of his fans, or she received adulation for her groundbreaking work. Practice. He handled the adulation from his followers with humility. Now, she accepted the adulation with a grateful smile. And another, they were not used to so much adulation from the crowd. The next word is bolster. This means to support or strengthen something. For example, the evidence bolstered her argument, or he bolstered his confidence by practicing every day. Practice. I try to bolster my learning with regular practice. Now, she bolstered her speech with real-life examples. And another, they bolstered the community by starting a new program. The next word is circumvent. This means to find a way around an obstacle or rule. For example, they tried to circumvent the regulations, or he circumvented the problem by finding a creative solution. Practice. I found a way to circumvent the long process at work. Now, she circumvented the delay by contacting the right person. And another, they circumvented the system to speed up the process. Then we have dormant. This means inactive, but capable of becoming active in the future. For example, the volcano has been dormant for decades. Or, his talent remained dormant until he started practicing again. Practice. Some of my skills have been dormant for years. Now, she reawakened her dormant interest in painting. And another, they revived a dormant project and made it successful. Our next word is elusive. This means difficult to find, catch, or achieve. For example, success can be elusive without hard work. Or, she searched for the elusive answer to the mystery. Practice. Fluency can seem elusive without daily speaking practice. Now, he chased the elusive dream of becoming a professional athlete. And another, they finally found the elusive solution to the problem. Finally, for this section, we have frivolous. This means not having any serious purpose or value. For example, she avoids frivolous spending, or he was criticized for making frivolous complaints. Practice. I try not to waste time on frivolous arguments. Now, she spends her money carefully, avoiding frivolous purchases. And another, they decided not to focus on frivolous details and stayed on track. Our next word is galvanize. This means to shock or excite someone into taking action. For example, the speech galvanized the crowd into protesting, or she was galvanized into action after hearing the news. Practice with me. I want to galvanize my team to achieve more this year. Now, he galvanized the community to work together for change. And another, they galvanized support for the project through social media. The next word is hamper. This means to slow down or prevent progress. For example, heavy rain hampered the construction work. Or, lack of resources can hamper learning. Practice. I won't let fear hamper my progress. In English. Now, she didn't allow criticism to hamper her confidence. And another, they found solutions to hamper the effects of the storm. Then we have impeccable. This means perfect and without any mistakes. For example, she has impeccable taste in fashion. Or, his work is always impeccable. Practice. I want to develop impeccable pronunciation in English. Now, she presented an impeccable report to the board. And another, they maintained impeccable standards in customer service. Our next word is jubilant. This means feeling or expressing great happiness and joy. For example, the fans were jubilant after the team's victory. Or, she was jubilant when she passed her exam. Practice. I felt jubilant after reaching my learning goals. Now, he was jubilant when his artwork was displayed in the gallery. And another, they were jubilant at the news of the birth of their child. Moving on to knack. This means a special skill or talent for doing something easily. For example, she has a knack for remembering names. Or, he has a knack for solving puzzles quickly. Practice. I have a knack for explaining ideas clearly. Now, she has a knack for making people feel comfortable. And another, they have a knack for finding great bargains. The next word is lenient. This means being more forgiving or less strict than expected. For example, the teacher was lenient with students who were late. Or, he took a lenient approach to the rules. Oh. Practice. I try to be lenient when someone makes a small mistake. Now, she is lenient with her younger siblings. And another, they decided to be lenient with first-time offenders. The next word is metamorphosis. This means a complete change. in form, structure, or character. For example, the caterpillar's metamorphosis into a butterfly is fascinating. Or, he underwent a personal metamorphosis after traveling abroad. Practice. Learning English can create a metamorphosis in your confidence. Now, she experienced a metamorphosis in her career path, and another. They saw the city's metamorphosis over the past decade. Then we have nonchalant. This means appearing calm and relaxed, not showing anxiety or excitement. For example, he gave a nonchalant shrug, or she walked into the room looking nonchalant despite the pressure. Practice. I try to stay nonchalant in stressful situations. Now, he acted nonchalant when receiving the award, and another. They remained nonchalant during the unexpected delay. Our next word is ostracize. This means to exclude someone from a group or society. For example, they ostracized him after the disagreement, or she felt ostracized by her classmates. Practice. I believe no one should be ostracized for their differences. Now, he was ostracized for expressing an unpopular opinion, and another, they ostracized her from the group unfairly. Finally, for this section, we have precarious. This means not secure, likely to fall or collapse, or uncertain. For example, they lived in precarious conditions, or the chair looked precarious and unstable. Practice. I avoid being in precarious financial situations. Now, she was in a precarious position during the hike. And another. They made a precarious climb up the steep mountain. Our next word is quandary. This means a state of uncertainty or confusion about what to do. For example, she was in a quandary about which job to accept, or he faced a moral quandary when making the decision. Practice with me. I was in a quandary about whether to travel or stay home. Now, she found herself in a financial quandary after the investment failed, and another. They were in a quandary over how to solve the problem. The next word is reclusive. This describes someone who avoids social interaction and prefers to be alone. For example, the author lived a reclusive life in the countryside, or he became reclusive after the incident. Practice. I am not naturally reclusive, but I enjoy quiet time alone sometimes. Now, she became reclusive after moving to a remote village, and another. They lived a reclusive life far from the city. Then we have staunch. This means very loyal and committed to a cause or person. For example, she is a staunch supporter of environmental protection, or he remained a staunch friend through difficult times. Practice. I am a staunch believer in lifelong learning. Now, she is a staunch advocate for children's education, and another, they are staunch defenders of free speech. Our next word is trepidation. This means a feeling of fear or anxiety about something that may happen. For example, she approached the stage with trepidation, or he felt trepidation before the important interview. Practice. I felt trepidation before speaking in front of a large audience. Now, she opened the letter with trepidation. And another, they waited for the results with trepidation. Moving on to undermine. This means to weaken or damage something, especially gradually. For example, the constant criticism undermined her confidence, or he tried to undermine their authority. Practice. I won't let negative comments undermine my progress. Now, she refused to let stress undermine her health. And another, they worked to undermine the opposition's arguments. The next word is vindicate. This means to clear someone of blame or suspicion or to prove something is correct. For example, the evidence vindicated her claims, or he felt vindicated after the truth came out. Practice. I was vindicated when my idea turned out to be successful. Now, she felt vindicated when the results supported her theory. And another, they were vindicated by the court's decision. The next word is withstand. This means to resist or survive something difficult. For example, the building was designed to withstand earthquakes, or she can withstand a lot of pressure at work. Practice. I can withstand criticism if it helps me grow. Now, he withstood the challenges with patience. And another, they built the bridge to withstand strong winds. Then we have yoke. This can mean to join together, often for work or a purpose, or to be tied to something. For example, the two ideas were yoked together in the project, or they yoked their efforts to complete the task. Practice. I yoked my energy and focus to finish the task on time. Now, she yoked her goals to her daily habits. And another, they yoked their skills for a common purpose. Our next word is zephyr. This means a gentle, soft breeze. For example, a warm zephyr passed through the open window, or she enjoyed the zephyr by the seaside. Practice. I love feeling a gentle zephyr on a sunny afternoon. Now, he closed his eyes and let the zephyr cool his face. And another, they sat under the tree, enjoying the evening zephyr. Finally, for this section, we have aberration. This means something unusual or unexpected, often not typical. For example, the sudden drop in temperature was an aberration, or his outburst was an aberration from his calm nature. Practice. I think this delay is just an aberration, not a regular problem. Now, she saw the mistake as an aberration, not a pattern. And another, they considered the incident an aberration in an otherwise smooth process. Our next word is accolade. This means an award, honor, or praise given for an achievement. For example, she received an accolade for her outstanding research, or the film won several accolades at the festival. Practice with me. I hope to earn an accolade for my hard work someday. Now, she accepted the accolade with a grateful smile. and another. They were given accolades for their community service. The next word is belligerent. This means hostile and aggressive. For example, his belligerent attitude caused tension in the meeting, or she became belligerent when provoked. Practice. I avoid being belligerent even in disagreements. Now, he was belligerent during the argument, and another. They managed to calm the belligerent crowd. Then we have capitulate. This means to stop resisting and surrender. For example, the team refused to capitulate despite the challenges, or he finally capitulated and agreed to the terms. Practice. I won't capitulate to fear when learning new skills. Now, she refused to capitulate during negotiations. And another, they eventually capitulated after long discussions. Our next word is deleterious. This means causing harm or damage. For example, smoking has deleterious effects on health, or overuse of social media can have deleterious consequences on mental well-being. Practice. I avoid habits that could be deleterious to my goals. Now, she explained the deleterious impact of pollution, and another, they took action to prevent deleterious outcomes. Moving on to enigma. This means a person, thing, or situation that is mysterious or difficult to understand. For example, the disappearance of the ship remains an enigma, or she is an enigma to her colleagues. Practice. I find the origin of certain words to be an enigma. Now, he is an enigma with many hidden talents. And another. They tried to solve the enigma of the strange code. The next word is futile. This means having no useful result. Pointless. For example, it's futile to argue about things we can't change. Or, they made a futile attempt to fix the broken vase. Practice. I know it's futile to worry about the past. Now, she made a futile effort to stop the rain. And another. They realized their search was futile after hours of looking. The next word is harbinger. This means something that signals the approach of another event. For example, the dark clouds were a harbinger of the coming storm. Or, the new policy could be a harbinger of change. Practice. I see small habits as a harbinger of future success. Now, she took the silence as a harbinger of trouble. And another, they viewed the event as a harbinger of better things to come. Then we have innate. This means existing naturally, without being learned or acquired. For example, she has an innate talent for music, or his kindness is innate. Practice. I believe everyone has innate abilities waiting to be developed. Now, she has innate leadership qualities, and another. They recognized his innate sense of direction. Our next word is languish. This means to lose strength, energy, or success over time. For example, the project began to languish without funding, or he languished in the heat without water. Practice. I don't want my motivation to languish over time. Now, she languished in the hospital for weeks before recovering. And another. They let the garden languish without care. Finally, for this section, we have morose. This means gloomy or sullen in mood. For example, he was morose after hearing the bad news, or she sat alone, looking morose. Practice. I try not to stay morose for too long after a disappointment. Now, he became morose after losing the game. And another, they noticed her morose expression during the meeting. Our next word, D, is nostalgia. This means a sentimental longing for the past. For example, the old photos filled her with nostalgia, or he felt nostalgia for his childhood home. Practice with me. I feel nostalgia when I hear songs from my school days. Now, she experienced nostalgia while visiting her hometown. And another, they spoke with nostalgia about the years they spent together. The next word is obstinate. This means stubborn and unwilling to change one's opinion or action. For example, he remained obstinate despite the evidence. Or, she was too obstinate to admit she was wrong. Practice. I try not to be obstinate when given good advice. Now, he is obstinate about his eating habits. And another, they were obstinate in refusing to compromise. Then we have paragon. This means a person or thing regarded as a perfect example of a quality. For example, she is a paragon of patience. Or, the building is a paragon of modern design. Practice. I want to be a paragon of dedication and hard work. Now, he is a paragon of honesty in business. And another, they saw her as a paragon of creativity. Our next word is quell. This means to put an end to something, often by force, or to calm. For example, the police managed to quell the protest. Or, she tried to quell her anxiety before speaking. Practice. I take deep breaths to quell my nervousness before a presentation. Now, he quelled the rumors with a clear statement. And another, they worked to quell the tension in the room. Moving on to resolute. This means determined and unwavering. For example, she remained resolute in her decision. Or, he is resolute about completing his studies. Practice. I am resolute in achieving my language learning goals. Now, she is resolute in protecting her family. And another, they were resolute despite the challenges. The next word is stoic. This means enduring pain or hardship without showing feelings or complaining. For example, he remained stoic during the difficult times. Or, she took the criticism with stoic calmness. Practice. I try to be stoic when facing setbacks. Now, he was stoic in handling the loss. And another, they stayed stoic even under extreme pressure. The next word is transient. This means lasting only for a short time. For example, the storm was transient and passed quickly. Or, her visit was transient but meaningful. Practice. I enjoy the transient beauty of a sunset. Now, he made a transient appearance at the party. And another, they stayed in a transient mood of excitement. Then we have usurp. This means to take a position of power or importance illegally or by force. For example, the general tried to usurp the leader's position, or he usurped control of the project without permission. Practice. I would never usurp someone's role without discussion. Now, she accused him of trying to usurp her authority. And another, they usurped the decision-making process. Our next word is vehement. This means showing strong feeling, forceful, passionate, or intense. For example, he gave a vehement denial of the accusation, or she is a vehement supporter of free education. Practice. I am vehement in my belief that practice leads to progress. Now, he spoke in a vehement tone about the injustice. And another, they were vehement in defending their position. Finally, for this section, we have wane. This means to decrease in size, extent, or degree. For example, her interest in the project began to wane, or the moon will wane after reaching its full phase. Practice. I never want my motivation to wane while learning English. Now, his energy began to wane after hours of work. And another, they noticed the excitement wane as the day went on. Our next word is acumen. This means the ability to make good judgments and quick decisions, especially in a particular area. For example, she has strong business acumen, or his political acumen helped him win the debate. Practice with me. I want to develop strong acumen in communication skills. Now, she showed remarkable acumen in solving the problem. And another, they praised his financial acumen during the meeting. The next word is blatant. This means something done openly and obviously, without trying to hide it, often in a bad way. For example, it was a blatant lie, or he showed blatant disregard for the rules. Practice. I avoid making blatant mistakes in my work. Now, she pointed out the blatant error in the report. And another, they saw his actions as a blatant attempt to get attention. Then we have coerce. This means to persuade or force someone to do something by using threats or pressure. For example, they coerced him into signing the contract, or she felt coerced into agreeing with the group. Practice. I would never coerce someone into doing something they dislike. Now, he was coerced into making a false statement. And another, they coerced her into staying silent. Our next word is dichotomy. This means a division or contrast between two completely different things. For example, there is a clear dichotomy between rural and urban lifestyles, or she noticed a dichotomy between his words and actions. Practice. I studied the dichotomy between theory and practice in my work. Now, he explored the dichotomy between tradition and modernity. And another, they discussed the dichotomy of freedom and responsibility. Moving on to embellish, this means to make something more attractive by adding extra details, often not entirely true. For example, he embellished the story to make it more interesting, or she embellished the dress with colorful beads. Practice. I sometimes embellish my stories to make them more entertaining. Now, he embellished his resume with exaggerated achievements. And another, they embellished the speech with dramatic pauses. The next word is facetious. This means treating serious issues with humor, often inappropriately. For example, his facetious comments annoyed the audience. Or, she made a facetious remark during the meeting. Practice. I avoid being facetious in serious discussions. Now, he gave a facetious response when asked about the deadline, and another, they laughed at his facetious humor, even if it wasn't appropriate. The next word is gamut. This means the complete range or scope of something. For example, the shop offers the full gamut of sporting goods, or her emotions ran the gamut from joy to sadness. Practice. I have experienced the gamut of feelings while learning a new language. Now, she covered the whole gamut of topics in her presentation. And another, they saw the gamut of reactions from the audience. Then we have hinder. This means to create difficulties that delay or obstruct progress. For example, the heavy traffic hindered our arrival, or lack of preparation can hinder success. Practice. I don't let fear hinder my growth. Now, she didn't allow negativity to hinder her progress. And another, they found that outdated systems hindered productivity. Our next word is impede. This is similar to hinder, meaning to delay or block progress. For example, the snowstorm impeded travel, or his lack of focus impeded his learning. Practice. I try not to let distractions impede my study time. Now, he found that stress impeded her concentration. And another, they removed obstacles that impeded the process. Finally, for this section, we have juxtapose. This means to place two things side by side for comparison, often to highlight differences. For example, the exhibition juxtaposes modern art with classical works, or she juxtaposed her current life with her past. Practice. I like to juxtapose my old writing with my new work to see improvement. Now, he juxtaposed bright colors with dark shades in the painting, and another, they juxtaposed two very different ideas in the same project. Our next word is kinship. This means a sense of connection or relationship, often because of shared experiences or feelings. For example, she felt a strong kinship with her colleagues, or he has a kinship with nature. Practice with me. I feel kinship with people who share my goals. Now, she developed a kinship with her neighbors over time. And another, they found kinship through their love of music. The next word is lucidate. Often used as elucidate. It means to make something clear, to explain. For example, the teacher elucidated the complex concept with examples, or he elucidated his plan during the meeting. Practice. I try to elucidate my ideas with simple examples. Now, she elucidated the problem for the new team members, and another, they elucidated the process to avoid confusion. Then we have mitigate. This means to make something less severe or harmful. For example, the government took steps to mitigate the effects of the disaster, or she mitigated the risks by planning ahead. Practice. I try to mitigate stress by organizing my tasks. Now, he mitigated the noise with soundproof walls. And another, they mitigated the damage caused by the storm. Our next word is nonplussed. This means so surprised and confused that you don't know how to react. For example, she was nonplussed by the unexpected question, or he stood there, Nonplussed. Not knowing what to say. Practice. I was nonplussed when I saw the sudden change in plans. Now, she was nonplussed at the strange behavior of her friend. And another, they were nonplussed when the result was announced. Moving on to obliterate. This means to completely destroy or remove something. For example, the explosion obliterated the old building, or he tried to obliterate all traces of the mistake. Practice. I want to obliterate bad habits from my routine. Now, she obliterated the negative comments from her mind. And another, they obliterated the old files to protect privacy. The next word is perfunctory. This means done quickly and without much care or interest. For example, he gave a perfunctory nod, or she offered a perfunctory smile before leaving. Practice. I avoid giving a perfunctory response when someone asks for help. Now, he completed the task in a perfunctory manner. And another, they gave a perfunctory handshake before parting. The next word is quagmire. This means a difficult, complex, or dangerous situation that is hard to escape. For example, they were stuck in a political quagmire, or she found herself in a financial quagmire. Practice. I avoid getting into a quagmire by thinking ahead. Now, he was trapped in a quagmire of conflicting rules. And another, they escaped the legal quagmire with good advice. Then we have relinquish. This means to give up something, such as control, rights, or a possession. For example, he relinquished control of the company, or she relinquished her seat for an elderly passenger. Practice. I will not relinquish my dreams easily. Now, she relinquished the microphone to the next speaker and another. They relinquished their claim to the property. Our next word is sagacious. This means having or showing good judgment and wisdom. For example, she is a sagacious leader, or he gave sagacious advice about the investment. Practice. I want to be sagacious in making career decisions. Now, she is sagacious in handling conflicts. And another, they made a sagacious choice to expand the business. Finally, for this section, we have tantamount. This means equivalent in seriousness or effect. For example, his refusal was tantamount to an admission of guilt, or ignoring safety rules is tantamount to inviting danger. Practice. I know that avoiding practice is tantamount to losing progress. Now, she felt his silence was tantamount to agreement. And another, they said the lack of communication was tantamount to neglect. And that brings us to the end of today's lesson. We've explored 175 advanced English words, not just by looking at their definitions, but by using them in real sentences, practicing their pronunciation, and connecting them to everyday situations, so they can truly become part of your active vocabulary. If you've been speaking the sentences out loud with me, you've already taken a big step toward using these words naturally and confidently in your daily life. Remember, it's not about memorizing a list. It's about living with the words, hearing them, saying them, and letting them flow out when you speak. I want you to keep practicing these words over the next few days, mixing them into your conversations, your writing, and even your thoughts. The more you use them, the more natural they will feel, until speaking with advanced vocabulary becomes second nature to you. And if you found today's lesson helpful, I'd love for you to stay connected and keep learning with me. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new lesson. We have so much more to explore together, and every lesson will help you move closer to fluency. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I'm Natasha, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next session. Until then, keep practicing, stay curious, and let English be a natural part of your everyday life. See you next time.